It's me. Oh, you know what I need to do really quick? I just realized as soon as I started streaming, I needed to do I needed to do this, which is to say, I need to change like the mouse cursor for this little like stream thing. It needs to be like a big circle as opposed to I guess just the Godot icon, because it makes it somewhat hard to read, which is fair. So let's see. Or you know what? I'm gonna keep it like this. We'll change it later. Anyways, welcome back. What we're working on today is one of these things. And by one of these things, I mean it's a game jam game, or it was a game jam game. How neat. Ooh. Push jam. It was a good idea. I think I overestimated. Well, I didn't. Well, yeah, I overestimated how much work it would be to make in a 2-day jam. And also, I didn't realize it was a 2-day jam. I thought it was a 3-day jam. So, I guess you can kind of figure out how the initial prototype went. The initial prototype, though, is playable on itch.io and is also free and open source. So, you yourself can play the game if you so desire. So you have lots of little people. That is the technical term for them. And you can control them around. They walk around in a line. You can kind of see that their movement is a little, I guess, a little jittery, but we can work on that. We can work on that. The important part is that it works. And so part of the idea is that you as the player are fighting, you know, either hordes of enemies or like a big boss, or possibly both, in a kind of a combat arena. I might make it possible to scroll the screen as well. Who knows? Anyways, let's censor the window and see if this kind of messes with, yeah, that's what I thought I would do. Yeah, for some reason, censoring the window manually like that kind of, yeah, it kind of messes with this thing here. I don't really know why that happens. It shouldn't. Like it tries to censor the the Godot window as well. Which is strange. It's strange. But I can live with it. Maybe. What happens if I do this? If I just make it almost censored? It's gonna look a bit off, but such is life. Will it re-censor itself? It will re-censor itself improperly, which is cool. Very cool. Thank you, Windows. It's probably not even Windows' fault. It's probably a Godot bug for high DPI screens, because I'm running this without high DPI mode on. Otherwise, it would be impossible to see these little tiny units. That's the point, right? Is that they're so small that you kind of have a better sense of scale. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's go into test screen. This is just the test screen, so I don't really feel bad about just slapping things around like this. So like this is just a color rect. We are now going to stretch out over a large area. How nice. Let me find the color palette. Where is the color palette? Here's the color palette. Adjust swatch. Give me the hex code. Goodbye hex code. We'll just slap this into here. Look at that. Kind of a, not quite a piss yellow, but it's almost there. It's almost the piss yellow. The best kind of yellow. Besides the color of snow. Oh god, it's so bright though. Oh, hello, Gyozen. How are you doing today? Look at this. We're working on kind of an old game jam game idea that you can kind of play here if you want. So let me load it up. Dashboard. I think I showed this off at some point. I don't know if you existed at this point in time. But it is free to play, and also it's free and open source if you want it. So look at that, you can sound effects. Everyone loves sound effects. There's no music, unfortunately, because I ran out of time. Because it was a 2-day game jam. I thought it was 3 days. So you can click on it. Look at that. So you have little people. You can fire off skills. You can switch them. And I have made the tactical decision to also only allow damage to be modified, or damage to be applied on the current selected unit. Which means that I guess you could try to like selectively dodge. You could try to dodge by switching units. If you were to like say have your current unit jump all the way across and then switch to another unit farther back in the line. And so you can see you're doing stuff, I don't know. I kind of forgot how to play my own game. Yeah, there we go. The memory's coming back. What do all the buttons do? Yeah, there we go. And so the idea is that you're trying to keep maximum skill uptime on everything, while avoiding as much damage as possible yourself. Something like that. And so there's like 3 levels. They're pretty much all damage sponges. And there's almost no skill descriptions except like out of game here. But anyways, that's free to play. Let me drop a link in chat if you are interested. Or you can, you know, check out the repository as well. It's available under Apache 2. I think the structure of the code is somewhat interesting, I guess, if you wanted to work on your own stuff. This is the complicated bit. So this takes care of, so like, one, surprisingly enough, moving things in a line, somewhat difficult. So this is the, or not somewhat difficult, but it's somewhat roundabout. That was in GDScript. Now I'm rewriting it in C#. So we have something like this. Probably want to zoom in the camera a little more. Yeah. Like I wanted it super zoomed out, but probably not this zoomed out. So maybe like this much. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. Especially since you'll be able to like full screen it. Oh geez. It didn't really like that. Yeah, that was weird. So the controls get slightly offset when you full screen it. I'm not sure why. Cool, I got the green screen shirt. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There is a green screen shirt. I totally forgot. Congratulations. So you're just a floating head most of the time. Yeah, I think that's kind of weird because if I remember correctly, I think the green screen effect is actually pretty strict. So I don't know. Did I just accidentally choose green screen green when I was doing the green screen stuff? It's possible. It's possible. Anyways, let's kind of mess with this kind of stuff. So, abstract player unit. I can assume certain things for, so this is an abstract unit. This is the abstract player unit, and then this is just the player spearman, which implements the abstract player unit class. Oh baby. Object-oriented programming. It feels so nice after doing so much GD script after so long. When GD script is object-oriented, but like Python style object-oriented, which is very loosey-goosey. So I'm wondering, where should I put this information? So this information refers to, yeah, like idle and move. But abstract unit does not have that animation. So do I want to tag these on player units or on, I guess, just abstract unit? Like, where do I want to call like the animation player play animation thing? The character looks cute. No, you. I drew it. Look at that. You have the run animation, 2 frames. Then the idle animation where they just bounce up and down, also 2 frames. Yeah, I guess it would be better to actually show it here, which is what it will look like in game, so it's not as hyperactive. Like the sunset colors. Oh, thank you, thank you. I did choose them from low spec palette list. What is the palette called? We'll scroll down a little bit. It's not this one. Oh, actually, we need this sort by most downloaded. It's this one, Ice Cream GB. Yeah, there we go. If you do pixel art yourself, you can grab this. Low spec is my kind of go-to place for palettes. I'll let smarter people than me figure out like color ramps and all the other color theory stuff. I think this is good enough for now, though. Oh, you know, I'm noticing that this is wrong, actually. Hold on. We're missing a dot. Hold on. Do that. Save. Overwrite. There we go. Fixed. Okay, so let's tag this to specifically, or I don't know, man. I don't know. Abstract units. So when it moves, oh, no. I think we should move like animation player stuff that's specific to players should be inside of this class here, not on the the super class, the super duper class, if you will. What is it called though? Oh no, abstract unit. It's called animation player, you dummy. Animation player. Hey. This inherits, oh, because I made it private. Okay, hold on. So make this protected. And we'll just copy this down. No more private variables. I always forget that this is how it works in C#. I think that might be how it works in Java as well. I don't remember. I am a Java developer by trade, so. By trade and or training, whichever one you prefer. I'm self-taught in Python, and that was the first language I learned, the first programming language I learned way back in high school. So when I was around like 16 years old, learned Python 2, back when that was still a thing. Python 2 is no longer supported, by the way. Officially deprecated. Or not even officially deprecated, it's out of support. It's past deprecated. Okay, so this is all the skill stuff. Oh, you know what? We can do this. I always forget you can do this in C#. So it's a region, skills. How do you, is it end region? End region. Hey, there we go. Oh, and I also know few as possible frames of animation. Got to send my message. It's okay. Your message has been received thusly. But your lack of attention has been noted and will be logs for future monitoring. Prepare yourself. Alright, there we go. Just kind of space everything out. I don't know, it's like the more I write C#, the more I kind of like it. It's like, it's pretty much as everyone says, it's better Java. Hey. But hold on. Yeah, there we go. You can do this. Oh, hello, Bumd. How are you doing today? This is what I'm working on today, by the way. Is this game jam game. I'm just gonna post it in chat again. I'm very sorry, Yozen. So you can load this up. I made this during a game jam. This is during the Kenny Jam 2021, where the entire idea of the game is that it's very MOBA style controls. And so you just, it's MOBA style controls, but it's, I guess, MMO style skill rotations. And so the idea is that you're trying to maintain maximum uptime on your skills by switching between all your party members really quickly. And I guess as a deliberate design choice, only your front's party member can take damage. And as you can see, whenever you kind of jump and or teleport, the rest of your party kind of lags behind. So I think that's kind of an interesting design space. So like you can try to avoid damage if you kind of like tactically jump away and then switch. You can jump away, bait out an attack because the enemy will always target your current unit, and then you can switch back to one of your units that's lagging behind, if that makes sense. So you can jump away, enemy will target you, then you can switch to one of your units that was really far away. So you can kind of see like that, something like that, and then you'll have to switch. But anyways, and then there's other skills, etc. There's like, you can have like a cooldown reduction skill, blah blah blah. You can have some buffs, you know, damage dealing, etc. So that was written in 2 days. I thought I had 3 days to write it, which is why it's kind of it's kind of very unfinished. And also the scope of the project was just, ugh. I didn't realize how much work it would be to implement 12 skills in 2 days. Plus the enemy skills as well. I think if you make the boss the complete design-wise, it can be fun. Yeah, that's my idea. I think it would be fun. I think doing skill rotations in MMOs is actually really fun, but like the other parts of MMOs, like, I don't know, like raiding, I'm actually not really into it. It's too much coordination. I want to press my buttons and watch the numbers go up. Or I guess watch the number go down, I suppose. So, yeah. Anyways, you can play that on itch.io. The code is open source as well, under Apache 2 license, etc. Ends regen. There we go. What I meant is that in my experience, boss mechanics are what makes it fun for me. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's also in the cards, right? Well, we'll have to flesh out the entire thing. There's like a lot of little things as well. I think like the ability to customize a team is also fairly interesting. You know, having different boss patterns as opposed to just having 2 attacks. I think I did implement, in what I just showed, there are like, I guess, boss tells for different attacks. But yeah, I totally agree with you though. The boss, if I flesh out the boss mechanics, it could be fun. Tried using canvas layers. You suggested it worked to bypass the Z index, sort of. I have to use multiple canvas layers. Yeah. Well, it's because each canvas layer kind of has its own Z index, right? Kinda. I'm actually not sure how that works. I've never tried to go behind another canvas layer. But the way I understand it is that each canvas layer has its own Z index. Yeah, so if you shader with Z index, you can manipulate better, unlike a color rect. Interesting. 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 It's like a spider web Z index hell. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I have to learn how to do shaders better eventually, and that's what I'm slightly nervous of. I don't know, and I feel like doing it, whatever you're trying to do, like selective blurring with canvas layers, is a bit... It feels like a hack. There must be a better way. But it's just something that I suggested since I know it'll work. We do protected string current animation equals idle. Something like that, and we'll make this public. And so I like this kind of getter-setter property of C#. It's definitely much better than Java. Yeah, and then you can selectively have, so this is a get-only property basically, but I can set it if we're inside of, you know, the unit. If you put shader node in the canvas layer, screen texture comes from the object outside of the layer. It's so weird. It comes from the objects drawn first before the canvas layer. That's what I understand. If you're saying you put it in the canvas layer? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, the ordering gets kind of weird. I guess I'll refrain from speaking about it. I don't really know. There's a lot of ordering that I don't really understand. I'm sure I could figure it out, but at this point in time, I do not have it all figured out. I would need to play with it. Yeah, so your canvas layer has its own Z index layer. I'm mind blown. There we go. See, that's something I've always kind of suspected, but I've never tested. That's cool though. Yeah, it's like the canvas layers have their own like canvas layer Z index, and then like you can also just set like the inner Z index. So there's you can think of it like an outer Z index and an inner Z index, right? So the outer Z index is the canvas layers. The inner Z index is what each canvas layer has inside of it. Yeah. But what I'm not sure about is can you inside of the inner Z index, can you go behind or in front of other canvas layers? I haven't tested that. I feel like it might make sense, but I'm not sure. Alright. Current animation. And so here, not sure either. Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to test, but I don't really feel like testing it right now. Oh man, my favorite part about C#, as opposed to GD script, is that C# is just in time compiled, or possibly ahead of time compiled. Oh baby. So bloating your code has pretty much no impact. I guess startup time is impacted a little bit, but who cares? Still trying to figure out. Still trying to figure out the spider web. Understandable. Understandable. Let's see. Next animation is equal to move. I think we can just have like an inner enum here. I don't know if you would want to make an inner enum here though. I think you would want to have like player animations handle your animation stuff. So we'll do like player animations CS, and then this is just an enum. Public enum player animations, and then we'll have none, whoop, idle, and then move for now. And that's pretty much it. So then we'll be able to access this stuff. So this is no longer a string, this will be the enum. Wish I knew the code of this order in one line in source code, like the logic of the order somewhere in the source. Yeah, I knew what you got. You're saying. I'm very good at reading broken English. Doesn't need to make sense. I'll just kind of figure it out myself. I don't know. You could probably go into the, I guess like the unofficial Godot Discord and ask. And see what the canvas layer ordering logic is. Right? Alright, there we go. So this is what I refactored it to. So now we're using enums. We're using real enums instead of just using strings everywhere. Look at that. So next animation is player animations move. And so we can also do... I don't believe there's any skill animations. It's pretty much just like the weapon appears out of nowhere. So let's do animation player, or if. Alright. The one thing I miss from, I guess, newer languages like, GD script, which is somewhat new, but languages like Go and Rust as well, is the ability to do if statements without the parentheses. I used to dislike it, but now that I've had to do it for so long, I've, Stockholm syndrome myself into thinking that that no parentheses is good. I used to always use parentheses all the time, even in GD scripts. But, it stopped. Because I think, as mentioned previously, a lot of programming is just reading, so the less I have to think about, the better. So next animation is not equal to current animation, then current animation is equal to next animation. And then we'll do animation player, play current animation to string. One of these. So that's a really simple animation handler. And then, of course, this one, oh, don't forget to do this part. So if we are not moving, then we should be in our idle animation. Yeah, it's just old-fashioned, yeah. Parentheses. I mean, it's nice, right? Because it's consistent. So in languages like Rust, and I think even in the GDScript style guide, it says that if you use an and or an or in your if logic, you should use parentheses. Right, so it kind of makes it you have to jump between the two. But, you know. It's very little mental overhead. I've gotten over it. It's nice when you don't have to write it. Yeah, it's nice when you're given the option, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things you can't really get rid of, since, you know, parentheses are necessary for grouping logic together. So you can have just a single piece of logic and group it into itself. So I don't know. I don't know if that, yeah, that statement made sense. Anyways, animation should work now, hopefully. Look at that. And now all we need to do is implement, what's it called? Sprite flipping. Yeah, sprite flipping. And so move and slide. I don't actually store the result because why don't I store the result actually? I feel like maybe I should store the result. So what does this give me? It gives me it gives me a vector 2, and then I can check the x part of the vector 2 to see which direction I should be flipping in. Are you familiar with Rust and Godot? Oh, am I familiar with Rust and Godot? I'll have you know that, let me see, where is it? Hold on, I'll have you know, I wrote one of the first open source games for Rust and Godot. Look at that, and I believe this is still the only open source game that does not use the macros for generating classes. I mean, the code is pretty bad, but ignore that. So I wrote Godot Pong Rust. Actually, the mouse blurring is also using Rust and Godot that you can kind of see here, which is just the Godot logo with a shader applied, right? Because usually in Godot, right, this stream overlay is written using Godot, but you cannot get the mouse position if you don't have window focus. So I'm mouse logging myself by using a Rust library. So yeah, I have a few Rust projects, right? Let's see. Oh. I have a GIF tool as well. So there's two big GIF tools. There's one that's written entirely in GDScript, it was fairly slow when I was using it, so that's why I wrote my own. And this uses Rust to generate GIFs. It's pretty fast. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Rust, but I like Rust more than C++. I think if I had the choice, I would use Golang, but the Golang bindings look a little sketchy. Look at that. Is that a penguin? Rev Newt? Rev? Is that from Rev Havoc? Is that... I feel like that's someone I know. It's a Pingu? What's a Pingu? Alright, so let's store the results of move and slide. So this will be some sort of vector 2. Let's see. Let's call it vector. Oh, you can't just call it vector, can you? Oh, no, you can. So this is the vector. So if you are moving, and also like, because your units stop on the dot, there's no, you know, they don't slide. because I want to give you total control in this case. So once they reach their position, they stop immediately. So we don't have to worry about storing this. So we can check the vector results. So, well, we'll call this your velocity, right? This is your velocity. If velocity x is greater than 0, then we want to do, well, it's a very Java style bracket, but is it's oh, I need to store the sprites. Yeah, okay, hold on. Pingu is from Pingu Acclamation Show. Pingu? Is that like it's like annoying orange? I don't know. What's Pingu? Is this something I should know? Pingu. Oh, it's this thing. Pingu. I kind of recognize it. I feel like I've seen this before. I don't. This is cursed. That's also cursed. I recognize this. Yeah, I recognize some of these. I don't recognize this. That must not be real. This looks familiar though. With the, this has a real name. What is the sack on a stick called? There's a real name for that? It's banned. It might be out of fashion nowadays. It might be a bit spicy, as the kids say. Might be a bit spicy. Protected sprite. So here what we need to do is sprite get node. Oh man, I love my static typing. Oh, feels good, man. Yeah, older shows tend to have kind of weird humor. Like I still remember a few shows in my childhood still doing the kind of like Chinaman squints, which I can say because I am ethnically Han Chinese, so it's not racist. Not racist, by the way. But I remember thinking like, man, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. I feel like I shouldn't do that. So sprites flip h is equal to false, since in my sprite sheet here, oh my god, my eyes. Yeah, it's already facing to the right. And then this is checking to see if our velocity x is greater than 0, which means that we're moving to the right. Yeah. And then I think we do need to have an else if velocity x is less than 0. Or we should do 0f. I like being specific. And we'll do sprite flip h equals true. Yeah, there we go. So we can test that. Check it. Yeah, look at that. 2-frame animation. You gotta love it. So we can. I feel like I want to mix GDScript and C# here, because I feel like it's easier to write UI logic in GDScript, but maybe I'm just crazy. Well, actually, I shouldn't write UI logic at all anyways, because this is literally called test screen. Let's create a new thing. We'll call it I don't know, like abstract screen. I love abstract classes for whatever reason. Or I guess it's abstract. It's like an abstract. Yeah, it's an abstract screen. Let's call it an abstract screen. Abstract screen. Beautiful. Add a abstract screen C# thing to it. What I don't like is that Godot does not naturally namespace anything, which I've always found to be kind of weird. So like the equivalent of that in Java is like just not having a package, just have it your file being a global package. So, I don't know, it's weird. Pingu has a YouTube channel and the oldest videos are 14 years old. Oh man. How old is Annoying Orange? Do you know that one? Or Annoying Orange? Remember that? Annoying Orange? Google is listening to me, by the way. Look at that. Oh, 2009? Look at that. It's pretty much the same age. Actually, no, it's not. It's 22 years old. No. 12 years old. I've seen him passing, but I don't care. Yeah, I mean that's back in the days when, well, it might also just be like an American thing. Man, old YouTube was a wild time though. I remember that. Old enough to remember old YouTube, and also Google videos. Remember when YouTube videos still had like a star rating instead of like and dislike? So what do we want to do in abstract screen? Pretty much just do the same thing here. So we'll copy these over to abstract screen, and then we'll also grab this code here. Yeah, this is good enough. So congratulations, welcome to the party. We'll grab this stuff. There we go. Overwrite. I got into YouTube 12 to 13, so I don't know the OG YouTube. Or 2012 and 2013, so I don't know the OG YouTube. I think it was in 2012, 2013, that's when they got rid of the star rating. And then they just had like, dislike. I don't remember. Was 2012, 2013, was that when user profiles, they were still like MySpace style? So you could like add like your own background image, not just the header, but like you could customize everything about your channel. Does anyone else remember that? Or does that make me like really old? So public abstract class. Whoop, don't do that. So make this a protected const. Also make this protected. So it's not really a test unit. This is I suppose this would need to be like an, actually you don't want this at all. What am I doing? Get out of here. Copy and paste all of this. So now we just have a combat screen, I think. Yeah, hooray for deep inheritance trees. So we'll go into here, abstract screen. Let's see, we'll call this, this is basically just like a combat screen, right? Combat screen. And we'll just slap it into here. Since there's not too many screens, that's what I'm kind of envisioning, right? There won't be too many screens. So let's go into combat screen. So I have some logic here for changing screens. I can see that I've made use of function overloading. But basically you can either pass in a screen path or like just an actual node. And then if you're passing in an actual node, that means that you're able to modify the node before you instance it in. Never use C# with Godot. Can you use interfaces? Yep, you can. I'm not really into interfaces. I think interfaces have their place in like really big projects, but I think in, I guess, very focused projects like this, it makes more sense to just use abstract classes. But I think that's just like a design philosophy thing. I don't know. But yeah, you can use interfaces. So you can have things that just these things must implement this, but I don't know. I'm more into abstract classes, right? So we just have a bunch of logic that's kind of predefined, and then we'll inherit. Because at least for me, I feel like whenever I have the need for an interface, I also have the need to also like store data as well, like define some initial data. So you can combine an interface in an abstract class where you can implement both at once, I guess. But then that's just starting to get messy in my opinion. Yeah, needs lots of objects and management requirement. Yeah. You might use, yeah, if the project gets really big, then it starts making more sense to use interfaces, because then you can expect a certain subset of functionality for each thing. Like I need some sort of unit that, you know, implements like the teleportable interface, right? And that makes sense, right? Because you already have your presumably some sort of abstract unit, but not every abstract unit needs to implement, you know, teleportable. Right, but we're not at that point just yet. Not just yet. Right now, just doing everything abstractly makes more sense, especially since I am defining logic inside of each function that can be overridden, of course. But right now, this is just abstract screen. There's nothing really here, but we'll do namespace, party rotations, screens. Don't really need deep trees here. I remember that I still have this, so keep that. So we'll grab all of this, slap it into there. Still need this. So combat screen, we pretty much always need to have this loaded in for now. I still need to think more about how I want to, you know, I do like unit compositions. But that'll be for later me to figure out and stress out over. So what does each abstract screen have? Each abstract screen will have a protective, more or less color rect, right? So that's your background. And then we can have in the ready class, we'll do public override void ready. So there is no base ready, but we do want to do background. There is no onReady var in C#, so this is how you must do, you know, this kind of stuff, right? We'll call this background, because this is the background color. So this is background. As much as I'd love to be here more, I should go and sleep for a change. Bye-bye. Thanks for hanging out, Gyozen. You probably should sleep more, considering how late it is for you. Take it easy. I'll catch you later. Support is always appreciated. Alright, so here we have this stuff. We do need to do... What I don't like in regular Godot is that it implicitly calls the ready function. So whenever you override or you inherit from another class, it implicitly calls the ready function. Whereas in C#, you have to explicitly call the ready function. And that logic has changed in Godot 4, apparently. According to the blog post anyways. I have tried out Godot 4, and it's very crashy. I prefer to be productive. Anyways, we can go into test screen, get rid of that. We'll add, let's see, combat screen for now. And so everything should still work since it's all the same code. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, crashes and spams errors. Yeah, I have ported a few things over to Godot, and by a few things I mean one thing. I ported one thing to Godot 4, which is the I wrote a Lisp, a Lisp style programming language in GD script, and so that's been almost ported to GDScript 2.0 in Godot 4 and the REPL as well. And so you can find that in my GitHub as GD Lisp. So there's a master branch which is on 3.3, and then there's a 4.0 branch, which is just kind of bizarre. It works though. It more or less works, and you can check that out on my itch.io. Look at that. But this is the 3.3 branch, not the 4.0. So I think when I was working on that, porting it to 4.0, it only crashed like 24 times in 3 hours. So not so bad, not so bad. Could be a lot worse. So what do we want to do now? So we have this stuff. We could implement skills, but you know, instead of implementing skills, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create enemies now. People love Lisp, but I prefer to stick with what I know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of most people's take on a lot of programming languages, is that the first language they learn is their preferred language. A lot of the time, unless the first language you learned was C, and then I don't know. Or if the first language you learned was C++, then your opinion might be different, but I don't have too much input there. Let's create it. Let's start creating enemies. Let's start creating enemies. So all enemies, more or less, will inherit from abstract unit as well. We can always change the sprite later, but that's easy. So we'll have an abstract enemy. Oh baby. Hooray for abstract classes. Oh, hold on. This needs to be abstract enemy unit. Although I don't really know why I'm appending unit to it. Well, I suppose abstract player doesn't make a lot of sense. Abstract enemy. Let's be consistent, I suppose. Abstract enemy unit. And we'll attach abstract enemy units. I keep both editors open, if only because I believe that I'm going to be using a GDScript at some point. I know so many C++ experts, they never want to change. It's weird. Well, it's because it's you know, C++. It's one of the languages that it lets you shoot yourself in the foot very, very easily. But because of that, you know, it just lets you do whatever you want. As opposed to if you go to a higher level language like Java, Python. GDScript is basically Python, you know. If you want to shoot yourself in the foot, you have to try really, really hard. Which, you know, once you have a taste of that C++ freedom, you never want to go back. I've dabbled in C++ and I find it very scary. And it's like, yeah, I'm allowed to do this. I feel like I shouldn't be allowed to do this, but I guess we're doing it. Yeah, I mean that is one of the good things about it, right? Is that if you want to do it, if you want to crash your program, I guess you can. Won't disparage you for doing it. Actually, what am I calling this? This is just enemy states. So players don't really have a state because you can fire off skills while you're moving. So I'm going to keep this kind of loaded in, right? So of course this is all kind of slapped together really quickly, right? But you can fire skills off while you're moving, whereas enemies have to switch from state to state. So you can see that right now it's chasing me, and eventually, and right now it's in idle state, so it won't do anything. Now it's in attack state, so enemies cannot attack while they're in the attack state, and they must finish whatever they're doing before they can switch to another state. So enemies are actually using a kind of rudimentary state machine. Let's reload it so it stops, because there is no pause function. So let's see, enemies, let's do, it's this enemy states.cs. We'll namespace it Party rotations, enemies, and then this is just going to be a public enum enemy states. Let's see, so we'll have the none state. I like having a none enum, as mentioned previously. So you never just have like the default enum. Right, so if you have a none enum, it makes it easier to check for errors. That's my take on it. And so what are we doing here? So there's chase. I suppose there's just like random moves. So sometimes you're not even chasing. Sometimes you're just moving. I have a game that is using physics objects like spring 2D, rigid bodies, etc. Very cool. Spring 2D. What is a spring 2D, by the way? I'm not familiar with that. And this is actually wrong, by the way. Namespace. Party rotations, entities, players. Oop. Do you think if I rewrite my game in C#, it might give me better performance on mobile? They're built-in physics objects joints. No, probably not. Well, it depends, right? So a lot of the processing logic. So if you're doing a lot of custom logic in your scripts, it might give you better performance. But if you are relying on like built-in engine functions, you know, those are written in C++. So those are just by default are going to be faster. But if you're doing lots of calculations, right? So like this right here is probably pretty heavy. Whatever this is, if you're doing this every single frame, it might give you better performance. Yeah, if you're just using a lot of built-in functions, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to rewrite NGD scripts. But if you're doing some complicated, like you know, you're doing some complicated sorting and then trying to find the closest thing, it might make more sense to rewrite it in C#. It'll give you a frame or two more, depending. Frame or two to like, oh, I have no idea, honestly. It's hard to say without looking at the logic. Oh, I don't need this part actually. That's what I do though. Very little things I do though is maximum like 10 length arrays. Well, if you're iterating over an array every single frame, it might give you some performance boost, but I don't think it's really worth it depending on how far along you are in your project, right? So like, how far along are you? If you're pretty far along, you know, if you're pretty far along and you're not running into a lot of performance problems, I wouldn't mess with your code base. Like 500 lines. Okay, so it's pretty easy to port. 500 lines, that's nothing. Even 1,000 lines, that's pretty much nothing. Nothing. I'm sorry, I'm starting to slip into my my regular accents. Alright, so public, delegate. I always forget how to do signals in C#. So this is killed. And this is just an empty function, by the way. Yeah. And then we can also have public, static, events, event handler, killed event. Look at that. Let's see, and lots of scene tests, etc., and game interaction tests. Well, are you following like a test-driven development style? That might make it somewhat painful, maybe. I have no idea. I don't follow test-driven development. I feel like test-driven development is good if you know exactly what your inputs and outputs are, but I feel like it's hard to do that in games. But you do you know? Abstract units. And so we do need to call the base ready function. Does it make it worth to make overhead to the add overhead to the game? I don't know. It's, you know, can you maintain 60 frames a second on a pretty low-end device? I think, or can you maintain 30 frames a second on a low-end device? And can you hit 60 frames per second on like a mid-tier device? And I think that's probably good enough, right? Enemy to string. I want to be as practical as possible and it's messy, sadly. Well, see, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that, does it matter? Right? Like if you have messy code but your code works, does it? Then it's good code. If it's dumb and it works, then it's not dumb, right? Something like that. Oh no. Oh no. I forgot that you can have different animations for different things. Hold on. Let's accept the error for now. And then we'll go into entities just by itself, and we'll call it unit animations.cs. This is pretty much going to be the same thing as was it player animations.cs. We'll grab this, bam, change the namespace, and then this is unit animations. So there's idle and move, so that's pretty much what everything is going to be using. We can get rid of these variables here. Oh no. Yeah, 60 when I render lower res. It depends on how complicated your game is. Simple games can be messy. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter in my opinion, right? As long as the game works, it's pretty good. You know, you can make your code as good as you want it, but if you're not able to have something that works, right? If like having pretty code doesn't make a difference if you don't actually have a product or have anything that works. My opinion is that you should make something that works first and then clean it up. Of course, you do need to, there's a balance somewhere, right? So you need to have, you need to, I suppose, write your code in such a way that you make it possible to refactor in the future. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of slip up, is that they write code, but everything is super hard coded and it's hard to refactor, right? I think as long as you don't hard code yourself into a bad situation, I think it's fine to do anything you want. There were some OP heavy things on Unity. I know how to manage it, but I know when I don't need any of those things. Well, you could just write everything in one file, right? Have it be really messy, but also, I mean, it would more or less just work. Alright, let's get rid of player animations.cs. Look at that. Actually, let's save states at some point. I hate how bright the background is, by the way. But the color palette I'm using is only 4 colors. And so it's hard to add more colors. Because it's better to have, I guess, not dark lights, but I guess harsher colors be outlines as opposed to the other way around. Yeah, I don't hard code much. Yeah. Basically, what I've been trying to say in a lot of words is it's okay to have messy code as long as you follow 2 principles. 1, your code actually works. That's important. And 2, it's not impossible to refactor whatever you wrote before. And so those are the 2 metrics I kind of follow. 1 is how easy is it to refactor, and 2, does it actually work? So. My habit is always use dependency injection. Oh god. I hate it. I'm very bad at dependency injection. I think it's very confusing. Once you get to a few layers deep in dependency injection, now you're just I don't know, man. That's a dangerous place to be in. I've worked on a few Java projects where, you know, you'll have just a million dependencies that are all being injected. I don't know which dependency I'm. Like we have a service writer, but which service writer is being injected? I have no idea. Or we're getting some dependency injection errors, or for some reason the logic isn't working. Did the dependency injection fail, or am I getting the wrong data? I have no, I don't know. I don't know. So I try to use dependency injection as little as possible. Hello, Philippe. How are you doing today? Just passing by to say hello and see how things are going. Cannot stay, unfortunately. Well, still appreciate the support, nevertheless. Thanks for dropping by. I'm rewriting a game jam game, so you can kind of see that we're just moving around little people in a line. For now, right now I'm implementing an actual enemy to fight. So I already, like, since I'm rewriting it, I'm rewriting it in C#. So we need to just port everything really quickly. So there is. Look how awesome it is. Well, it's not as cool as this part, which I believe you've seen this before, right? Beehive mouse. Yeah, it's one of these. This is what I'm trying to recreate, but using my own assets. Yeah. You know. It's not very good, but that's because, you know, it was rushed. Where's the thing I'm looking for? This part. Line, game manager line. I believe... Oh, this one doesn't actually have a reference to the line either. Yeah, these should have a reference to the line. Or since both of these have a reference to the line... Yeah. Player manager line. Yeah, we don't need it. We can grab this and move this out to... Oh, what's your problem? Hello? Unit.line. Okay, so we can move this out to abstract unit. So every unit will just have a reference to the line. Player line. Oh baby. So using party rotations. Hopefully there aren't any circular dependencies. Party rotations, entities, player. Might be better to move this out to here, and by to here I mean like player line is inside of players right now, but we could just move it out to entities so that everything has access to it, like so. We do need to modify several things. Oh, those four guys, like four warrior, mage, healer. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, gotta go now. So having alert and I want to see results later. Sorry for not staying long. Alert. I don't have alert command. I don't use Nightbots. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, Philippe. Much appreciated. But yeah, Bumdy, the idea in the original code, so you can kind of see here, we look through at the various player classes, is that we have, I guess, combat units like Spearman and Swordsman. You have Spearman, Swordsman, Skirmisher, which is like I guess a rogue or a bandit. Then you have a Mage, which is just raw DPS. Druid, which is like utility / support. Swordsman is also like utility / support, I think. Something like that. And so support units have abilities to, you know, reduce skill cooldowns. They can buff your damage. They have mobility. You know, damage dealers, like the Mage, which is pretty much the only damage dealer, has, it's like a fireball, Has a ice attack. Has a few attacks. And some utility stuff. So the idea is that you would rotate through every single unit at some point because you want to pop all their skills while they're off cooldown. Some units have skills that reduce cooldowns, and I've kind of mixed them throughout all the units. So I think learning the rotation would be nice. So you want to keep like really high uptime on all the skill cooldown skills, but because you're using skill cooldown skills, it reduces the cooldown on your, like, I guess, damage dealing moves. So it's you need to decide what the optimal uptime is, which I think is an interesting thing to think about, in my opinion. How about costs? There are no costs. It's all just cooldowns right now. It might be more interesting to add like a mana cost or something, but I don't know. I think just having health right now and then just having to manage cooldowns it's more focused, right? Because I'm not sure how you would balance I guess mana costs, because that's basically, right? Because mana cost is like a separate cooldown. It's basically just another cooldown. Right? So you could have, so then I would be splitting cooldowns into like an explicit cooldown, which is just like the skill timer, and then there's the implicit cooldown, which is the mana cost. So I don't know. Maybe I'll add that, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Hard to say. Hard to say. Let's see. So I moved the line out here. Then combat screen. I don't think I need to set the line. Yeah, I don't need to set the line if I do this, which is to say, if we do line, wait, yes, line is equal to @manager line. Does this work? Will this break? Please don't crash. No crash. Oh, it crashed. Okay. Well, so it goes. Null reference exception. Object reference not sent to an instance of an object. So combat screen 17. 17? Hey. Oh, it's because this part. So we just raw null pointer. That's good. I like that. All right, cool. So we do have a line. I actually don't really know how this works. I've never tried to look at the debug information for this. Okay, so you can't see any of the information. That makes sense. So you need to make good use of an external debugger if you're doing things this way. Interesting. I probably not the best person to ask about like C# Godot stuff. I know C# well enough. I know Godot well enough. I don't know Godot C# very well. But I like using C# because it is pretty heavily static. But now we can guarantee that we always have a reference to the line, which is nice. Can you put breakpoints? I don't know. I've never tried. So I have C# tools for Godot installed. Launch a Godot directly in Godot editor. But I don't know. Play in editor. Creates the following launch configurations. You know what? I've never actually read this before. Interesting. What does F5 give me? This doesn't look right. Hey? I don't know. I think I need to. I need to. There's no run configuration. Oh wait, hold on. Godot. Oh, there we go. So that's my launch.json. Play in editor. Oh, is this how this works? And then we can do run. Oh, Is it running? Oh baby, it's running. Oh, that's really cool. I've never read the documentation. I've never read the documentation for C# tools for Godot. Interesting. Cool. Alright, get rid of that. Oh, I should bring that back then, run and debug. I don't usually do run and debug. Cool. Well, I'm still not gonna set a breakpoint just yet. Okay, well, we'll do it. We can put a breakpoint and see. Send it. Where is it? Ah, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. This. Look at that. Isn't that something? Or something, sorry. That's cool. And then you can step through. What's the step through button for Visual Studio? Oh, I don't have those buttons on my keyboard. I have step over, F10. Oh, okay. I do have these buttons on my keyboard. Anyways, let's kill it. Neat. Well, the more you learn. We're learning together. It's a learning experience. So it works. You just need to go to run and then do like an initial add configuration thing, and then it'll work. Cool. Good to know. Good to know. I think I should actually save state at this point, so that I think I'm at an okay place. Git add all. Oh, and I forgot to add the git ignore as well. Git commit. Implements, player, units, screens. So this C# code is not open source, unfortunately for now. But I'm working on it. Maybe one day it'll be open source. But I do like the idea a lot. And of course, the regular code is open source. And by the regular code, I mean the GD script code, which is pretty much where I still am right now, right? So we'll have a killed event, super killed. I also use VS Code for Git. Ugh. I don't know. I don't like using Git from VS Code. I like how it shows like changes, but I think I feel more comfortable interacting with Git from Git Bash. Or I feel more comfortable doing a lot of you know, like administrative tasks from the terminal, because you know I do professionally I do work with a lot of servers. I don't like doing text editing in a terminal though. So like people who are really into Vim, I don't really get it. I like using my mouse. Press a button. Ugh, I don't know. I feel like this gives me more control, right? So you can do like a git log p, and then you can see the things that were changed, etc. Oh, don't clear it. And anyways, can you do like remote management from VS Code? I've never tried. Either way, that's neither here nor there. Let's go back to this. So we'll have a few things. We have the line, we add it to the group, and then we need to play the idle animation. But I don't have an idle animation right now, so let's see. Actually, did I move the animations? I moved the animations back to... Yeah. I moved them back to the abstract class. Current animation to string. So this one doesn't actually have anything just yet. So there, you can see that if I try to play it, it would throw an error, which we don't want. So we'll just keep it as the regular old sprite. All right. So I'm gonna move this over to this screen. Yeah, probably you can. I don't trust VS Code for that. I trust for symbol commits. Yeah, I suppose there's plus and minuses. You know, going back to like the programming language thing, I feel like it's just whatever you learn first is what you're most comfortable with. That's how I feel about it. Oh, you know what? I do need to use the base process function here, because there is some logic going on. So we have health. Actually, does abstract unit have health? I don't remember. Okay, it does. Actually, I think in the web demo I have, I don't believe your units can be killed. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it's possible. Only enemies can be killed. I just never implemented it for whatever reason. And so let's see. There's enemy states. Yeah. There we go. So we have access to that. So we'll do protected enemy states state, and then we'll just set this equal to an initial value. Enemy states, spelled that wrong. Enemy states none. Yeah. And then I don't remember what the other code does. I have it on my other monitor though. So let's just start implementing this stuff. So this is our state information. And we can add a region. Oh baby. Region states. And then end region. I love doing that. It makes me feel productive even though I'm not really doing anything. Protected. Or, okay, so this is like current state, last state. So, current state, enemy states, last state. Let's see, state switch number, question mark? State switch count, excuse me? What is, who wrote this? What does this mean? Now, state switch count is greater than state switch number. Oh. Oh, it's just the counter. Oh. Oh, I remember this. I'm a Vim fan, so don't make me sad. Nah, fam. All my friends use Emacs. Nah. I think most people I know use Vim. Or at least, most people I know use VI. Because it's hard to get Emacs installed on every single system. Protected float. My keyboard doesn't even have arrow keys. Yeah, I used to use a keyboard that didn't have arrow keys as well. So I use a, what keyboard do I use? I use a Preonic keyboard. Yeah, I use one of these. So I guess it has arrow keys, but they're very Vim style. I actually have mapped the function key plus WASD as my arrow keys. Anyways, I use one of these with Halo clear switches. Very fancy. So bad of a decision. Is it? I don't know. I mean, I mostly type with my left hand. Like, I press the majority of the keys with like 3 fingers on my left hand. My right hand is for pressing punctuation, numbers, and the shift key, and the spacebar. So, and I have a typing speed of about 90 to 100 words per minute, so it works for me. Oh, that's not how you do it. State switch count is equal to 0f. No, mine is, oh, nah. I mean, I used to use a poker 3, and that didn't have arrow keys. So you had to press the function key plus the Vim keys in order to move around. You have an and pro. What is an and pro? I feel like I've heard that before. And pro. We can go to Amazon, but I'd rather not display. Oh, okay, yeah, it's one of these. Yeah, a poker looks like this. I used to have a keyboard like that. Yeah, 60% so... Well, my keyboard is no longer a 60%. It's a 10, 12 times... Well, I guess it is a 60%. It's just in a weird form factor, because I have 12 by 5 key layout. Plus, I don't really have a real spacebar. I have 2 spacebar buttons, which do the same thing, but I press them at different... Well, I press them differently depending on what I'm doing. Right, like, so since I have 2 spacebar keys, I press the left spacebar when I'm playing games, and I press the right spacebar when I'm, like, actually typing. State switch max is equal to 4F for now. Well, hold on. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would we want to do it like that? Let's do protective float state switch max. And so this can be configurable for every single enemy unit. So some units would want to switch their state quicker than others. I think that makes sense. And then the last state related thing is protected float is state locked. That's not a float. This is a bool. False like that. Let's do is state locked is true. So if we die, then we will want to play a specific animation via the animation player, right? And then we'll do if animation player current animation is not you know what, I guess we'll need like a die animation and probably like a knocked out information. So unit animations, we can add more animations, it doesn't matter. So there's like downed and then killed. So there's a downed animation and then like I guess like a killed animation, and then I suppose players can be downed. Can you extend enums? I actually don't remember if you can. C# extend enums. Extending enums in C#. I guess you can't. Yeah. All right. Well, we're doing it this way then. Is equal to unit animations killed. And of course we can always override this process function as well. Let's see. We want to do animation. Oh, we had to do toString. Right, animation player. Play. We'll do unit animations killed toString. What is an S byte? I saw that pop out for a little bit. Is that like a string byte? I don't know how that differs from like a regular byte. All right, there we go. So this is just the health check. Then we'll do state switch counts. So this is just our counter for, you know, switching states. So we have a few states that we can switch to and from. We have the enemy states. So we have the idle states, which is just they're standing around doing nothing. Then you have the move state, which is when they're just randomly moving around. Or maybe they're moving, but they're not necessarily chasing the player. Chasing means that they move in the direction of the player, and then attack will have to, you know, figure out a specific attack thing to do. And I believe in my old code, oh, my old code doesn't have any attack specific information, so I suppose that might be handled differently. I forget how it's handled. We'll figure it out once I actually open up the files again. So if state switch counts is greater than state switch max, and so this is not a constant, we're using this as just a variable since I want to be able to modify this on the child stuff. State switch counts is equal to 0, so you recensor it, and then we need to call a different function. I think we also need to do like an animation player like connection. Yeah. So one of these, animation player dot connect to animation finished. So we need to use Godot naming for this. On animation finished. That's not how you spell it. Finished. What is it called in GD scripts? That's why I keep the script tab open so I can actually look up things. Animation player. So it's called animation finish with anim name being the receiver. Okay, so let's do private void. Not private. Let's do protected void. I kind of dislike using private too often. So I end up making everything a protected variable instead, or protected function, which just means anything that inherits from this class can also access the function and override it. Protected virtual void on animation finished. And so we'll have a string animation name. And so this is just nothing right now, right? Basically just a stub. I suppose killed would be pretty easy to... We could define some default logic for this one, but we're not going to. Let's see. Protected virtual void. And so I'm also kind of following my own naming standard here for connections. So similar to how, I guess, I don't know, similar to how I do things in GD scripts. So I generally do follow the standard, like if it's a private class, and then also if it's a connection, I'll do, you know, underscore on. So that's kind of what I'm trying to follow here as well. Everybody does that? Yeah. Well, I think that's the standard, but not everyone does that. Actually, I don't think there's... I believe that this is auto-generated for you, like on whatever finished, but I almost never use the auto-generated ones in the editor, so at least it tries to. At least tries to, yeah. I suppose if you're generating function connections from the editor, it'll generate in that style for you. But if you're doing it, you know, via code, which is what I'm doing, I'll just kind of do my own thing. Randomize. So like in this program, there are several connections that I have, which are just functions actually. They're not actually like specifically connections. So if, yeah, I think you have to use built-in signal namings, right? Nope. You can call it whatever you want. Otherwise it will not match. Well, so you need to use these built-in things, but you could call this whatever you want. So these, if you have to use the built-in names, yes. But if you're connecting to your own signals and then also your own callback functions, those can be called whatever you want. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. If you do have to use the built-in signal names, but I can show you that in this function, I am like just intercepting the built-in signal names and then like rebroadcasting the signal, re-emitting the signal with like more information. So it is kind of a weird. It is kind of weird. But it's because like when you click a button, right? You actually have no idea what you're emitting or which button it came from. Especially if you're programmatically generating buttons, which is, I keep going back to this. So every single UI element on this page is dynamically generated. And so that's why I kind of follow a kind of a signal rebroadcast methodology. So I intercept the button callback and then rebroadcast the signal under a different name with a bit more information about which button it was, etc. Anything else that's relevant. So I think it's actually kind of a nice system. I think it's a good pattern to use in Godot. But it's just that I've never seen anyone use it. Oh no, hold on. So this piece of code here uses a random integer. How do you cast? I feel like I remember in C# you can cast integers to enums, right? I create most of the things in code. Easy to know what's going on and manage. Yeah, I agree. I think when you split things between code and editor, you need to, you know, sometimes things will break and you're not sure where it's breaking, right? Like, did it break in the editor or did it break in my code? So let's see. How do you cast a integer to an enum? C# int to enum. All right, Stack Overflow. Your enum, your int. Okay, cool. From a string, you can also do okay. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the editor stuff is mostly, I feel like it's more for like designer types, right? Or for like artists. So it makes it easy for them to modify game logic, and then hopefully your actual programmer would step in at some point and convert all that editor logic to just regular code logic. Of course, that is kind of that's like the ideal state. It's hard to guarantee something like that. Enum to object type of. This feels wrong. I don't know. Something doesn't seem right about this. I hate enums. They always give problems. I don't know. Godot enums, yes. I think C# enums, less so, in my opinion. Rand I range. Although I wonder, how do you get the counts of the enum? So int to enemy states dot size. How do I get the length of an enum? C# get length of enum. Total numbers of items defined in an enum. Enum get names. Oh geez. Enemy, well, okay. Enum get names of type of. This doesn't feel right. This feels really wrong, actually. Length. That feels bad. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll work, but that feels right. Or that feels wrong. Yeah. Well, I feel like I can cache the enum name, but I don't know. I mean, it is C#, right? So it's JIT or AOT compiled, so it doesn't make a huge difference. This doesn't feel right. Something about this strikes me as odd. This seems bad. Let's just add a note. As long as I acknowledge that it might be bad, I think it's fine to move on. If new state is equal to current state, hey. So there's new state, current state, and then there's also last state. So if new state is equal to current state, then our new state is now equal to enemy states dot chase. So because I use nodes for finite state management. I think I used to have a An FSM I wrote myself. So let's see, Godot. Yeah, Godot snippets. This is open source, by the way, BSD2, so you don't even need to have any attribution. Yeah, so this one is just using... Oh, these are nodes? Oh, I feel like I rewrote this at some point, but maybe I didn't. Yeah, I thought I rewrote this to use only references, so it was even less heavy than using nodes, but maybe not. Yeah, but the states in this application, very, very light, right? Yeah, I have done it using the method you're describing, nodes based, so you have each node just contains all the logic, etc. So it's all kind of broken up. But fortunately for this game, it's fairly simple, right? If last state is equal to new state, then our new state is now equal to enemy states idle. So just sit there if we manage to roll the same state twice, I guess. Now last state is equal to current state, then current state is equal to new state. One of these. Yeah. Also enter tree. Yeah. It plays nice with the Godot scene tree for sure. Like to manage things OP friendly. Yeah. I think for state management, I'm coming back around to the idea of just doing everything in fewer files, because it makes it hard to see what the logic is like. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Randomize state. All right, cool. So this doesn't really do anything at this point. So you have a combat screen. We could just go back to the test screen as well, but let's just drag stuff in and see how it feels. I think we do need to have a node 2D. Well, this could just be a node, it doesn't really matter, but having the node 2D allows me to also adjust the positions of everything if I wanted to. Or at least also like modify the visibility. So these are entities. And then we'll also have maybe attacks, or no, we'll just have all the entities just be in one node. Right, so we'll go back to combat screen. Where is my combat screen? So I need to rethink these as well, or at least this. Maybe I don't. To do, oh, that's not how you do comments in C#. So to do might not want to store units here. Maybe we do, I don't know. And then here, we'll need to grab the entities. So we'll do protected node 2D entities. And then our ready function will have to do entities is equal to get node 2D. And I know exactly what it's called, entities. There we go. And so whenever we just add things to the screen, we'll do entities call deferred for all of the units, like so. Oh, it's so bright. It's just burning my retinas out. Oh, and then, so I think I actually can instance in an abstract class, even though that's not allowed generally. But I think this is fine. So we'll have enemy chaser. I like to prepend units with just enemy or player, just so it's easier for me to filter out visually. So enemy chaser, there we go. And then we'll just slap a script onto you, save that. And let's go into enemy chaser. I wish there was a way to do this better. Like, so it automatically namespaces everything. I wonder if it's possible to create a script template that does it for me. I don't think I have enough information, or I don't think the editor gives me enough information to namespace it though, automatically. Yeah, you can do script templates. I do have a few templates for GD scripts, but in C#, I'm not sure if there's a way to do, like, you don't have information to the directory that it's in. So you can't automatically generate that. At most, you might be able to grab this part. I guess if you're working on just a single project, you could just hard code it. But I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, no, you can kind of see here that I have something kind of weird going on. So all these kind of delimiters, file delimiters, or I guess notes, are all part of a script template. And so I generate kind of an empty one whenever, so it's easier for me to just scan through the file. Some people don't like to do that, but I think in GD scripts, which doesn't have the concept of public and private, it makes more sense. Not everyone uses directory structures as namespaces. Also not the Godot way, maybe that's why. Yeah, it's not the GD script way, at least. It is the C# way of doing things, though. It feels weird, right? It's like you could do C#, you could structure your C# code, I guess the Godot way, but then it's not very C# friendly anymore, which almost seems to be counterproductive if you're trying to do C#, right? Because you're using C# for either three reasons, right? One, you need the speed increase. Two, you want to use C# libraries. Or three, you're just familiar with C#. So I don't know. I mean, there's arguments for and against doing things. Well, what even is the Godot directory structure, actually? I feel like everyone does Godot directory structuring differently as well. So I suppose it doesn't really make too big of a difference. Anyways, there's our enemy chaser. And you know what? No, I feel like every enemy more or less should implement its own, I guess, movement logic, as opposed to units, which is pretty easy, because units, all I need to do is override the skills, right? Because all units more or less work the same way, whereas enemies, it's harder to define a base set of things. So my project structure is all over the place, so I have a bash script that I execute to set up my directory structure, so it's always the same, at least for GD script only projects. My directory structure is always the same for those. You know what? My drink is done. I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Ever since I haven't got around to bringing back my AFK screen scene, OBS scene, my AFK OBS scene. I should do that one of these days, just so it kind of like mutes my mic and puts a little message up on screen saying that, like, hey, I'm not here, but like I will be here eventually. Drop me back in. So what do we want to do? We could have, how did I do it in the thing that's already implemented? So this code is probably not the greatest to look at. Yeah, that's not fantastic. Could be worse, could be better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. So what we can do here, right? So this is the kind of reference code. So let's grab all of this. Goodbye. I'll just drop this into here. Plain text GD script. Look at that. It's gonna throw some errors because Godot is gonna try to to parse it, but just ignore that for now. So here, I think this part is what we can do. So this is like handle states. So protected virtual void handle state. And then this is just like a big switch statement, right? So switch, and then we'll just call this every frame inside of physics process, right? So we'll switch current state, and then case enemy states idle. I've always thought that switch statements in like C# and Java are kind of weird because they mix kind of like two styles. Like you have like the Python style syntax, and then it's encapsulated. So each case is Python style syntax, but each switch is just a regular Java C# style syntax. It's very strange. IMO. Enemy states, so there's chase. And then we'll just need to override this eventually. Enemy states attack. Right. Protected virtual void handles state. Right, and you kind of see where I'm going with this. So public override void. So I don't even need to re-implement the physics process every single time. I just need to override the handle state function. But I do provide a default implementation for the most part. So what I'm thinking for the default implementation, it'll just be like idle. You'll play your idle animation, right? Chase, you know, default implementation, you'll just move towards the player, and then attack will just do nothing. Attack will just be your idle state, something like that. So you basically just have an enemy that runs towards the player but doesn't actually attack if you don't handle the state, or if you don't override handle state, right? And so you run this in the physics process because we are also doing some, you know, some of this stuff. We're doing some movement, so it needs to be in the physics process. So let's do region. So this is still inside of abstract enemy unit. I like this kind of structure that I'm going with. Feels right. So we'll have a region movement and a region. Oh baby. So let's do protected float. Move speed, so we'll just define some defaults, and I'm going to copy over all of this speed, all of this stuff. So not charge speed. This is, yeah, we don't need to define a charge speed, since this is very specific towards the code I copied this from, which is a unit that was able to charge. I think spacing is interesting. Float spacing. Okay. Let's see. And that's really it, actually. Yeah. There we go. So that's movement. And so enemies will also not keep track of their own velocity. They will stop on the dot. They will not have any momentum. You know what? And then we can implement a few animations for these. So we have unit animation, so we need to have idle and move at the very least. So we'll do idle. There's nothing to show here, and then also move. Also nothing to show. Killed. I think that's a good one to have. Killed. Look at that. I mean, nothing will play, but at least we won't null pointer. And then it also kind of feeds into here since this is the superclass abstract enemy unit. So the animation player, play unit animations idle to string. And then we need to do animation management as well. So if current animation is not this thing, then we'll do a few things. Hey. Oh, okay. We can do this. Look at that, because these are both enums. Yeah, I remember. Current animation, so we'll do current animation is equal to unit animations idle. Yeah. And then we just need to override like just a million things every single time. Or we don't, or we just need to, we'll just need to override handle state in every single other class, but we don't need to override anything else unless we want to switch up how the randomized state logic works, or we want to switch up how handle state logic works. But any of this other upper stuff, you know, this process function stuff, no need. We could, but we don't need to. So move, and then move. And then this is pretty much the same stuff. Chasing and moving is almost the same logic. Attacking is just going to be idle, since this is the default implementation. What's your problem? Cannot fall through, huh? Cannot fall through from one case label to another. Excuse me? What do you mean? Did I do something incorrectly? Cannot fall through from one case label to another. Hey. Oh, okay. I just a break. Yeah, okay. Acceleration? No, no acceleration. Instant acceleration only. So you instantly accelerate to your max speed every single time. It doesn't really need to have acceleration, right? Because of how the game works. Right, so we run this again, we'll load everything, right? We'll just have instant acceleration. And so enemies will also just have instant acceleration. I don't think it makes too much sense to kind of split out the acceleration values. Ooh, don't hit me. Something like that, I don't know. Need to stop closing out of it, by the way. I mean, for the enemy can have, I don't know. I mean, I think it's more readable if everything just has constant acceleration. You know, I don't know. Like, is there a case for acceleration? I can't really think of one. Right, like you would want to use acceleration like if you're making like an FPS or something, right? Otherwise your game is going to feel really like stuttery. You'll like kind of like, you'll, you know, because I don't know. There's use cases for acceleration. I don't see one here, especially since it's, you know, you're clicking overhead view. Acceleration in this case might make it feel very slow, or I guess unresponsive. You know, it's like, I think that's what people don't like about Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games, actually. Although I've only played it once, so I don't know if it's actually still my favorite game. Yeah, apparently I'm a poser. But I think that's people don't like that about Hollow Knight, is that there's almost no acceleration, or you accelerate the top speed and deaccelerate to 0 really quickly. Like when enemy tries to charge, it's like an ability. No, I get you. Yeah, I get you. No, what I have instead is just the enemy has like a different animation, so they'll like jump up and down, they'll kind of flash red, and then they'll just go at their charge speed. They'll instantly accelerate to their charge speed. I think that's fair, right? If I give you a you know, a warning, basically the enemy's about to charge, then I don't need to have any acceleration. The acceleration really only makes sense, I guess, if you make it as an actual attack. So it's like the faster that they're going, the more damage they do. I suppose that would be an instance where that would make sense. It could do that, but for now we're just doing this. Global position, distance 2, so we have the line. Yeah, or attack speed. Yeah, well, I think the attacks are actually entirely driven by the animation player, which I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not, but we're doing it. Oh, I don't have access to the current unit. Hold on. Player line. Player line. Open this one. Yes. Okay, hold on. This is going to be a bit dicey. So I'm just changing the visibility attributes, which is not something you should really do too often. Oh god. Okay, hold on. Change all occurrences. Current unit. And so a few things have probably broken in the meantime. Actually, maybe not. It's actually very hard to balance and design real-time gameplay when I'm bad at that game. I think Hollow Knight is hard to get good at because it's, you know, as mentioned previously, is that the acceleration is almost instant, which is what people don't really expect. So you have to get used to the movement. Is that you have a bit too much control as opposed to playing something like Mario, right? Where he kind of has like a slight acceleration up to his max speed. Yeah. That's why, you know, it's hard to balance real-time gameplay. That's why I'm working on it, you know? You gotta... The more you make this kind of stuff, the better you'll get at it, eventually. Hopefully. I don't know. I've never actually shipped a real game before. But it makes sense to me. Move and slide, so we'll do the same logic here. So this is line.currentUnit.global position minus our global position normalized times our, what is our move speed? Move speed times 60 times, oh, we need to pass in a delta. Okay, so float delta. You also like Celeste? People love it somehow with the character controller. I've only ever played the Celeste like Pico 8 demo. I've never actually played Celeste. I hear it's good though. I hear it's good, but I'm not very good at like precision platformers like that. I finished Meat Boy, and that was infuriating. I was okay at Meat Boy, but the later levels, it's too frustrating. It's a good game, but I'm just not. It's not my type of game. I do like how it just lets me bang my head against the wall constantly, but... Yeah, I think Celeste, but from what I've seen, it's a very well-designed game. So I don't know, I mean... very well-designed. It's also very, I guess, focused in what it tries to do. Which is I think it's a good lesson that people... It's a good lesson to learn, is that, you know, you have your core competency, what you're trying to do, which is, you know, precision platforming, and then you build around that. Like, yeah, you could do something like, you know, Stardew Valley, which is just live your life on a farm. But that requires you to do a lot of things, right? Whereas, you know, if you're very focused on whatever, then I think it's easier to determine or it's easier to develop if you have less things to focus on. Something like that. Anyways, the default implementation for all enemy units will just be chase and then do nothing. So there is no wander logic. I need to think about adding wander logic. You know what? Let's add it to do. Add wander logic instead of chasing. And it might make sense to break out to like these actual cases into their own functions, right? So you could choose to completely override handle state, or you could just choose to override one part of handle state, right? So you, for example, you would probably want to leave idle as is, because, you know, what else are you going to do during your idle phase? But maybe your move phase you would want to re-implement to, you know, take in a different set of parameters. Yeah, so let's add a note as well to do breakout case logic into virtual functions. Yeah, I like that. But we'll leave that for later. My eyes. So let's see. Well, I think it's just enemy chaser. So we'll send you like here. Oh, and you know what? Enemies, abstract enemies, I think we'll probably have to have like a separate area 2D attached to them, right? So that they can have like they'll have a way to kind of gauge range. Actually, do they need to have a detection thing? Or since each enemy, right, has access to the player unit line, which let's demonstrate the line here. So each of these will have access to the line, and it doesn't appear to be running anything. Oh, it broke. We crashed, hard crash. 65, where handle state delta. 123. Move and slide. Yeah, so finish that previous thought. I don't think I need to have like a detection area 2D, because I always have a handle onto the current unit line, which is, you know, the conga line of units I have going around. So instead of, you know, listening for things being in range, I can always just kind of check to see if the current unit is in range. But this seems like it's a problem, right? Object reference not set to an instance of an object, which is line 123, and the call stack is, you know, of course, handle state 65, then 123, and so it looks like the problem is that, it's one of these things. It's probably current unit. So did we get a different reference to the line? I wonder if it's because of that. Let's do this really quick. Let's add a breakpoint. I don't know. Send it. Breakpoint. Send me from here. What I don't like about this is that you have to go. You have to find it somewhere. Where is it? Oh, and now we're. Oh, we hit the breakpoint. Very nice. Okay, so how do I read this? I'm not familiar. So we have a line. Oh, I see. I see. So what happens? Right? So since I added this directly to the screen, this actually gets called first. And then the combat screen, which has, where is it? Where is it? Combat screen. So this logic runs first, right? So we run base ready, add to group, and then we try to also get the line. But then we only ever set the line here. And this code runs after we run this logic. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So I wonder if we could do something a bit cheeky. Something a little cheeky. If we do, if line equals null, you can put it, yeah, put a delay, yeah. If line, or I guess while line is equal to null, you can put it, I don't know. That's a bit tough actually, now I'm thinking about it. It's actually a bit tough. So I think the simple fix is to put a delay, but I feel like that isn't. I feel like that isn't good. To spawn, yeah, spawn via code is probably the best fix, but it does make it hard to test, right? It makes it hard to test. Cause just slapping the unit into the scene, that's easy. But if I want to test, doing it like this is slightly more difficult. Because it's not instant. But I would like it to be instant. You know what we can do? You know what we can do? Is we'll grab entity for each node. We'll abstract here using party rotations. Also my, yeah, if anybody's, nah. Here's a solution. Here's a solution. Do you see what I'm thinking about? So inside of the screen, we'll do abstract unit in entities. So remember, entities is this node that contains all of my players and enemies. So entities dot get children. Ooh. Then we'll do if units dot line. If not, hold on. If unit line is equal to null, then unit line is equal to line. Yeah. I think that's slightly better. So this allows me to, one, spawn by code, but then also test via just dragging things into the scene. Yeah. So I'm not kind of, well, we'll still have to see, I don't know. Hopefully it won't crash. If it crashes, then yeah, I think I'll just have to spawn via code every single time. I'd rather not have to do that though. And let's see, we're able to switch, right? Yeah, see, we're able to switch. Look at that. So we can switch to... I actually forget, how does the logic work? I think I just push the current selected unit to the front of the line, so I don't actually switch their positions. So yeah, I'm clicking 3 and 4 right now, but their positions are, I'm just pushing I'm removing the first unit and then pushing it to the front. Yeah. It doesn't appear to be doing anything, by the way. I wonder if that's part of... I need like a debug UI. Or let's see. Can I do... Oh, this probably only works if I run it from VS Code, right? Yeah. It probably only works if I run it via VS Code. Let's set a breakpoint here, and then we'll press F5. Wait for it, then we'll stop. Boing, delta, yep, there we go. So now it looks all the same to me. There's a slight difference, Small difference. Well, I don't know, wait, which one are we talking about, by the way? What are we talking about? Alright, so yeah, here we go. So we have a line, so it worked. There we go. I guess movement is not actually working, but I guess we're just unlucky. Anyways, I think I'm going to call it here for tonight. So we'll add all of the stuff, git status, git commit, start adding enemies. I'll push this to my private repo. But of course, the original GD scripts code. Oh, the player units all are using the same sprite right now. So the idea here is that I have this kind of base, and then eventually, you know, I can add another layer, and like, you know, this guy can have a hat or something. Amazing, and that's how you'll be able to differentiate them, and that's why there's also so much white space around them, is that, you know, it's pretty much just going to be hats and weapons that make them look different. But yeah, the C# code, not currently open source. It might be at some point though. The GD scripts code is definitely open source, and you can find that on my GitHub. And you can find a link to the gamejam game on my itch.io, which is in my description. My GitHub is also in my description. If you would like to join my Discord and you know, talk to me about game design or whatever, you can find that in my description, as always. If you're interested in this face tracker, this is free and open source MIT license on my GitHub. This thing, the stream overlay, which you may have seen, is also written in Godot. There is a release on GitHub for that as well. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I will be live tomorrow from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time working on something. Probably going to be trying to finish up work on this. Since this is almost ready for a 1.0 release, I just need to implement a few more features. And then I can finally move on with my life. But yeah. Yeah. What did I say? Nice stream. Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm losing track of what I said. But yeah, let's find somebody to raid since I have more than 3 viewers. Hooray! All right. Don't look at my recommends. Does anyone have a suggestion? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we're searching for Godot engine. Let's see. There's someone doing Unity under the Godot tag, so that's cool. Oh, and that's... Oh, Bangather. I recognize Bangather. Let's raid Bangather. So get ready to get sense. Anyways, as mentioned before, I'll be live tomorrow from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, working on probably the face tracker. You know, give me a follow if you haven't already, and I will see you later in 10 seconds actually. Let's just kind of hang out. You know, how's your night been? I've been doing pretty well. All right, get sent. Goodbye.
Something else at the moment. Because I know you've been hopping on and off that for a while. But I think maybe you were doing gamejam, maybe? I thought I saw you stream earlier. I can't remember the title. I think you were doing gamejams.